Yes. Before we start our program, we must thank our Almighty God for giving this wonderful opportunity. I invite Janani of our mechanical department to lead us in our prayer.
Lovely Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour asking for your blessing and help us we are gathered together. We pray for our guidance in the matter at hands and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel in our work. We pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you, Janani, for this wonderful prayer. Let our Almighty God share His blessings. We'll utilize this entire session. I think it's an opportunity for me to invite the chief guest of this program, Mr. Davidson Moses. He has 14 plus years of experience in IT industry. He's a senior software engineer. Apart from that, he's a guy who is molding the fresh young blood engineers to get into the software industry. He has been a recruiter. He has guided the students. He has molded the students. He has given them a path to come to a software industry, how they have to prepare themselves for interview, how they have to crack things, everything he has guided. It's a great honor for us to have him among us. Now I give the session to the sir to continue. Davidson sir, we hope it will be a great session for us. We'll be happy and we'll have a great picture how to get into a software industry from this session. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for inviting me, and it's my pleasure and honor. I will share my screen now. Is everyone able to hear me? Are you hearing an echo?
No, sir, we are able to hear you.
Okay. All right. So I understand that this is for the mechanical department, and many of you are still trying for an IT job. So I can give you an overview of how the interview process happens in IT industry, and you can still take some of this webinar content for your interviews in other industries as well. So the way I have structured this is I have prepared a set of slides and I'll walk you through it, and I'll give you an overview. Sorry. All right. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate. And otherwise, please be on mute for everyone else's benefit. So we'll begin. Before we begin, I want to stress the importance of asking questions. If you have any questions, anything at all, please bring it forward. We do have a time set aside for question and answers at the last. All right. So going into this content. All right, I'll start with my introduction. My name is Davidson Moses. You can call me David. I completed my BE in Electrical and Electronics Engineering in 2006. I have 14 years in the IT industry, and I'm currently working as a senior software engineer in a Danish bank in Bangalore. And I have served in the technical interview panels, companies like Wipro, Tech Mahindra, and I've also helped people prepare for interviews. Through my knowledge that I gained through these years, this is one of my favorite quotes. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So any goal that you have, however big it is, you still have to take small steps. You have to begin with a small step, right? So every day, start taking steps towards that goal, and it will add up in the long term. Moving on to the agenda, first we'll start with what to expect in the interview process, and then we'll go to how to prepare for your recruitment. Then we'll cover some of the do's and don'ts, and I'll also give some pointers on how to stay up to date when it comes to IT industry. And I know some of you may be interested in mechanical engineering or core jobs, right? I'm sorry, I can only give from IT perspective, but you can definitely use this for other industries as well, at least a part of it. And then finally, we'll have the question and answers session, where you can ask any questions from either the topics that we covered in this session or anything outside of as well related to recruitment. And then we'll leave with some parting thoughts. All right, so far? Okay. So what to expect in the interview process? So others, please go on mute. If you have any questions, please do let me know. So the interview process typically includes an aptitude test, followed by a group discussion, and then a technical interview, followed by the HR interview. Now, if you are experienced, you may have a managerial round as well, but for freshers, mostly the managerial round won't be there. Now, the aptitude test and the group discussion are more like the elimination rounds, because in can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
Okay, I was muted for some reason.
Okay, sir.
All right, we'll continue.
Yes, sir. We'll continue.
Okay. So the first two rounds, the aptitude test and the group discussion, are more like the elimination rounds, where because there are like thousands of people in a recruitment drive, right? So we want to narrow down the crowd. So the aptitude test will test your intelligence on logical reasoning and other aspects. We will cover that in the next few slides. And the group discussion will test your communication skills and a few others. We will cover that as well. So these two rounds will bring down the numbers from 1,000 to 200, right? And for those 200, the technical interview and the HR interview will happen. Now, this varies with each company. Some companies may have aptitude test, then directly go to technical interview without a group discussion. So, yeah. Occasionally, you may get an email writing task, and the example could be write an email asking for a deadline extension to your client or manager, stating the reason for the delay and giving a timeline for when it will be completed. All right, then moving on to aptitude test. So what do they expect, or what can you expect in an aptitude test? So typically it's a multiple choice question. This is to evaluate your numerical reasoning, logical reasoning, situational judgment, verbal reasoning, and lateral thinking. we'll look at some of the examples of those questions, right? To make it clearer. So verbal reasoning would be, which word is the odd man out in this? So trivial, unimportant, important, and insignificant. We know that A, B, and D are almost similar, and D is the odd man out. So this is to see how well versed you are in English. You may get questions like situational judgment, where they'll ask you, suppose you're working on a project for 2 months and the deadline is next week. You find out that you won't be able to complete it on time. What would you do? Then more examples. For logical reasoning, they may say, introducing a man to her husband, a woman said, his brother's father is the only son of my grandfather. How is the woman related to this man? So you may be familiar with these questions on social media, and you'll see that this will help you actually preparing for these aptitude tests, right? But yes, there are more types of questions you may get in aptitude questions. For example, number series. You'll get a series of numbers, and you will find out the next number in this series based on the pattern. All right. Now, these are the types of questions, but when we discuss how to prepare, I'll tell you the resources that you can use to prepare for these questions. All right. Moving on to group discussion. This is the next round after the aptitude test, and this will be conducted in groups of people with 5 to 15 candidates in each group. This is to evaluate your communication skills, your reasoning abilities, ability to be a team player, your leadership skills. Okay. Now, where does leadership skills come in group discussion? This is where when you see somebody is struggling to speak for a while, but they don't get a chance, there are 2 or 3 people who are dominant and they're speaking back to back. But someone who did not get a chance, if you take up the leadership role and say, hey guys, you know what, we have someone here who has a point, and he's been trying for a while to speak up. So why not give him a chance, right? So that will show that you're taking control of the discussion and you are giving an opportunity to everybody to speak. Okay? So all these will be evaluated. Now this is a photo of a typical group discussion, and this is how it will happen. You will just be sitting around in chairs and just discussing on a topic. All right so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Moving on to the technical interview. This can be either face-to-face or over video call because of these abnormal times. Mostly it's happening over video calls. Now, this is to test your theoretical knowledge, your hands-on knowledge, your enthusiasm to learn, your communication skills, and critical thinking. Right? Now, theoretical knowledge you may not have if you are from a mechanical department, but you still want to get an IT job, then I would recommend learning a new language. Just one programming language should be okay. And it may be covered as part of your syllabus, but try to learn it on your own. This will help you it'll refresh your knowledge, right? You may have studied about it in first or second semesters, but it's always good to learn a new language And every company, irrespective of where they operate, right, whether it's engineering or manufacturing or automobile, every company has its own IT department, right? So whichever company or industry you're planning to work on, IT skills will still be useful everywhere. Now, even if you did not uh, come from an IT background, IT or CSE background, they'll still look at your enthusiasm to learn. And when you say you have attended a course, either a classroom course or an online course, and learned a new skill, they will take that as an enthusiasm to learn, and uh, it'll be helpful for your selection. Okay. Okay, examples of questions you'll get under critical thinking. They may ask you, tell me about a time when you needed to make a decision quickly. This doesn't have to be in a work setting. It may be in your college setting. It may be in your personal life. You can uh, say any scenario that you can think of where you had to make this decision quickly. And they may ask you questions like, when solving a problem or completing a task, how do you determine when you need help from others? Sometimes you may have to, or sometimes you can finish a task yourself. Sometimes you need help from others. So how do you determine when you need help from others? So you have to give it a thought and answer carefully. So these are the kind of questions that will come under critical thinking. Okay, we'll move on to the next topic, how to prepare yourself. Before that, do you have any questions in the format of the interview process? If not, we'll move on, but you'll still have the question and answer session at the end where you can ask questions. All right. The first thing you have to do is to introspect and find out answers to these questions. And one more thing, because I'm sharing my screen, I won't be able to look at the messages in the chat box. So if the moderator can read those messages and bring it up if there is a question, I'll answer then and there. Okay?
Sure, sir. I'll check the messages and I'll let you know, sir.
Thank you very much. Moving on. So yeah, as I said, the first thing you have to do is introspect yourself and convince yourself why you want this job, right? And what makes you suitable for this job. Because the first step is to convince yourself first before you can convince someone else. So you have to sit and think, what makes me suitable? It doesn't have to, um, even if you're, even if you have a mechanical engineering degree, you still can say why you like IT. Yeah, because when I was attending interviews, I had to go through like 15 at least interviews to before I got my first job, and this was when I was in college, and the first two or three uh, companies I lost out just because of this reason, because I wasn't convinced that IT was for me, right? I was just attending IT interviews because there were opportunities, and I was waiting for an opportunity later where I can attend interviews for an electrical engineering job. But after like two or three interviews, I sat down and I thought to myself, what do I want? And do I really want an IT job? So convincing yourself is the first step. If you're not convinced, then you should either try to find out what your heart really wants. Your passion could be in mechanical engineering, right? So you should not waste that uh, knowledge or talent or passion on a different industry. So try to introspect and find out why you want this job. Next point I want to make is look for a bigger perspective, right? Beyond money. It should not be just I want to earn money, so I want this job, right? Now, here I'll tell you a story where how the perspectives differ, right? So there was once a king who went around his kingdom and he noticed laborers working. So he went to the first guy and he asked, what are you doing? And he said, I'm carrying stones from here to there. And he went to the next guy and he asked, what are you doing? And he said, I am earning wages for my family so that I can feed my family or take care of my family, right? And he went to a third guy and he asked, what are you doing? He said, I am building that temple over there. Yes. So each of them has a different perspective about what they're doing. They're all doing the exact same work, but the way they look at the work differs, right? The first one thinks he's just carrying the stones. That's all he's doing. But the second one thinks, I'm not just carrying the stones, I'm also earning for my family. And the third one thinks, I'm not just carrying the stones, I'm not just earning for my family, I'm also helping build a temple, right, for everyone. So that is the difference between perspectives. So my suggestion to you is to have a bigger perspective. And when you answer the question, why do I want this job? Try to have a bigger perspective, not just money. Okay. When you lack confidence, what do? You just have to fake it till you make it. What that means is that you have to tell yourself that you're strong, even if you're not feeling strong. Yes, right. You have to tell yourself that you're ready, even if you're not ready. Sometimes just going and standing on the stage itself will like remove all the fear that you have, right? So if you have a stage fear, a lot of people have realized that the fear is only until they go to the stage. Once they're on the stage, their fear just vanishes and they just start doing their thing, whether it is singing or speaking. They just get into the groove, right? So it's the same here. So when you lack confidence, tell yourself that you are confident. Fake it till you make it. And be ready to learn from mistakes, because you may not learn everything before you can even start trying, right? You learn as you go. So if at first whatever you're trying did not work, learn from it. See what went wrong, what can I use from this interview to my next interview. So that's how you learn. And it's okay if you lost some opportunities, but there are more opportunities that you may get later. All right, now comes the real part, how to actually prepare for the aptitude test. Yes. So the only solution for this is regularly practice. You have to finish this entire book. You can either use R.S. Agarwal or Dinesh Katar. So you have to go through this book. Try to get a book if you get a chance, and work all the questions um, in these books. They cover a lot of topics that we discussed earlier. whether it is numeric reasoning or verbal reasoning or logical reasoning. All of these are covered in these books, and these books have been there since the times when I was preparing. So yeah, please make use of these books. And if you have not started preparing for aptitude, this is where you should start. All right. Next step is preparing for the technical interview. Now, if you have learned a language, brush up on those topics. And even if it is not a language, if you have learned about the computer science concepts, right? Like if you have learned about object-oriented programming or algorithms or data structures, you can brush up on those topics. And if you have completed any hands-on project, you can bring that up. Sometimes you may have, or you will do a final year project that has a little bit of coding, right? Sometimes even like if you're focusing on robotics, half of robotics is coding, right? And so you can bring up those topics as well, even if it is done in MATLAB or Octave or any language. So whatever language that you have worked on, brush up on that. And list down the topics that you're strong in. Yeah. So this will help you to lead the interview into your familiar territory. Because if they ask questions in a particular language and you're not even heard of that language or you're not familiar with it, you can still say, I have done a similar project or a similar algorithm, but in a different language. And then you can bring up your familiar area, and then they'll ask questions in that. So even if they're not asking like technical questions in that language, they'll still ask, how did you implement it? So what was the algorithm that you followed, right? So list down the topics that you're strong in or you're familiar with before you prepare for the interview. Next, you have to go through your resume multiple times. And if you ask any questions on your own resume and you're not able to answer, then it will not look good. So go through your resume multiple times, keep it on top of your head. If they ask any questions from any part of it, be ready to answer it quickly. Okay. Preparing for group discussion. Now, all of you discuss a lot of topics with friends, so this is very similar to that. Just stick to English and stick to the topic. That's all you need to do. So pick a topic and you can decide to argue for or against it and give everyone a chance to talk about that topic and share feedback to them, right? You can say things like your fluency could improve or your pronunciation could improve or you're taking a lot of time to think like this. All right. Now, if you have trouble with fluency or confidence speaking, I can suggest one technique. Try reading the newspaper, an English newspaper, out loud and to a group of people, not just alone. Maybe you can try alone first, but move on to reading it to a group of people, right? I have seen or noticed people improving a lot when it comes to confidence afterwards. So after like 2 weeks of doing this, they actually feel confident to speak in front of a group. So try this technique as part of the preparation for group discussion. Also, keep an eye on current affairs. because some of the topics that you may get could be related to current affairs, right? It could be advantages and disadvantages of social media, or is demonetization good or bad? So you may ask, or you may get any topics on current affairs, or you could get something that is very generic, like uh, are people working out less, more and more each day, or are trees um, not helpful these days, or any generic topic, right? So yeah, so keep an eye on current affairs, so that when they ask any questions, you can throw your opinions. Last thing is remind yourself that it's not a debate. Sometimes you can get carried away if you take that topic personally. Don't get carried away. It's just a discussion to test your communication skills. So you have to remember that. All right. Next is preparing for the HR interview. First thing you have to do is prepare an answer for tell me about yourself, and you have to rehearse this until you get it right, because this is the first question that you may get in like 90% of the interviews, and you need to have a good 2 to 3 minutes of answer prepared already. And this is probably the only part where I recommend memorizing the answer. So you can prepare and rehearse until you get it right. Also, be prepared to answer about your strengths and weaknesses. Now, the weaknesses should be realistic. Some people look at uh, the online forums and see, okay, giving I'm a perfectionist as a weakness is a good answer, and they try to give that, but it's very cliched and it doesn't give a genuine opinion about you. So try to find your own strengths and weaknesses. Your weakness is something that you're working on currently, right? Something that you realize that you have something to improve on, and you're working on it. It could be even as simple as I am I'm working on my English skills, right? So or I have stage fear. When there are like more than 10 people in a room, I hesitate to speak. So I'm working on it. But whenever you're bringing up a weakness, always let them know that you're working on it. You're improving on those areas, right? So always look at weaknesses as areas of improvement. Also about your passions and hobbies. This is for them to know about you as a person, what you do apart from study or work. Another important question they may ask is why you chose this career path. Now, it's up to you. Find out an answer why you chose this path. Uh, the wrong answer would be because I need money, right? Uh, Try to come up with something that is not just about money. Next is what do you know about the company you're applying for. So you should go through the company's website, the Wikipedia page, wherever their social media page. Try to know about their company. That will show that you're interested in that company. So you may also get questions to check your frame of mind. They may ask, what is more important to you? the money or the job satisfaction? If hired, how long would you expect to work for us? So these kind of questions are to see how you look at this job, right? So prepare for these type of questions as well. And this is probably the very first thing you'll do, preparing a resume. But I would suggest prepare for the aptitude first, in parallel prepare your group discussion, and then when you think you have at least like you're half prepared at least, then start preparing your resume. In your resume, highlight your strengths and be truthful. If you share something and it sounds good, so you add it in your resume, but if they find out that you're not entirely truthful about that point, it will not look good on you. For example, if you see attention to detail as a point and you add it to your resume, right? And if they ask any questions about when was the last time you find out some small detail that no one else found out. So if you're not able to give an answer to that, or if they ask you, okay, when you entered, I introduced myself, so what is my name? And what is my colleague's name, right? So if you're not able to register details in your head, but you have given attention to detail as your strengths, then it will not look good on you. So whatever you put on your resume, be truthful. One way you can add more details to your resume is go to job sites like Naukri or Monster and look for jobs that match your profile. So if you're a fresher, look for jobs for freshers. If you're 1 year experience, look for 1 year experience job. And look at the job description. Apart from the technical qualifications that they're looking for, they'll also list other things like attention to detail or willing to work in shifts, so things like that. So they'll mention all these details in the job description, right? So you have to take it from there and use those keywords in your resume, and that will actually give you an idea about what to add in your resume. Sometimes you may think, is this even required in my resume? But you'll be surprised to find that even small things that you already have, but you just thought you don't have to include it in your resume, right? So even those things are important in your resume. But don't copy the exact sentence from those websites. You have to paraphrase it or just take the keywords and use accordingly. Finally, don't include any points if we cannot answer questions on that topic. Straightforward. And use professional language. Instead of saying, I did my engineering, you can say, I completed my engineering. So, yeah. All right, we'll move on to do's and don'ts. Let me look at the time. Okay, so we have only 15 more minutes. So I'll try to be quick. And so can we reserve the questions for the last?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do's and don'ts. Be your own salesperson. This is very important because you cannot take somebody with you and ask them to speak for yourself, right? That person cannot sit beside you and say, you know what, this person is great at something. You have to be your own salesperson you have to, you shouldn't be shy to talk about yourself, right? Uh, Talk in a calm voice and be composed. Um, this is important because not only will it help you uh, to answer questions in a better way, it'll also help the other person, the interviewer, also to be calm and in a nice. They'll look at you in a nice way if you're calm. Wear a formal clothes. Avoid flashy colors. For men, white or blue plain shirt with dark pants is recommended. For women, sari or salwar or western formal wear is recommended. And stick to one or two colors. Any dress that has more than three colors is not usually recommended. Always wear a smile, very important, and give eye contact when talking to them or answering questions. Right? If you're attending the interview through um, a webcam, it's not entirely possible to give eye contact to them while talking. But if you are in a real world setting, try to remember this. An important point, if you did not answer one question properly, keep calm and move on. You don't have to keep thinking about that question and worry about it while answering the next question, right? You don't want your mind to be distracted from answering the new question. You don't want to be thinking about, you know what, a better answer for the previous question would have been this, but you'll end up answering the next question also uh, wrongly or not give your best shot, right? So if you do not answer a question properly, just move on. You can still work it out. If you're nervous before the interview, take deep breaths and try to find um, a secluded place and try some power poses. Yes, you can probably go to the restroom or some place where um, you don't. I mean, you can do this when nobody is looking. So you can do these power poses, right? So these power poses are known to help people calm down or give them confidence. So you can stand with a wide stance, or you can raise your arms in a V shape over your head, like in these photos, hands on hips, like the Superman pose, or arms crossed behind the head. And on the right side, you can see two women posing. So you can try these poses before your interview, and you can get into the groove if you are feeling nervous. Coming to don'ts, don't talk very fast, even if you're nervous. Watch your speed. If you find out that you're talking very fast, slow down. If you think you're thinking too much, try to think faster. And while answering questions, don't look elsewhere. It's okay to look up or down to think for a moment, right? But when you're answering the questions, try to look at them and answer. It doesn't look good if you're thinking like this and answering those questions like this. The next point is, if you don't know the answer, don't beat around the bush. If you're talking about a topic, but you're not really sure what to answer on that topic, just because you have to keep talking, you don't try to come up with something, or don't try to think of something during that time. Don't try to, like this. Yeah. So don't beat around the bush. If you don't know the answer, you can say, I'm sorry, I don't know. But like I mentioned in the next point, Do not leave the "I don't know" hanging. If they ask a question, and if you say "I don't know," and then wait for them to ask the next question, they may be waiting for you to add something to your answer, and then that silence will become awkward, right? So when you don't know an answer, add something to it that is irrelevant. Say something like, "I'm not sure, but I have studied about it in my third semester. But because I did not work on it, or because I don't have hands-on knowledge, I'm not able to recollect it." Say something like that. But try to be clear on what you're saying. Even if you're thinking on the spot, try to clarify those thoughts in your head before speaking. If the interview is not going good, don't bring up your personal problems, or don't tell them how desperate you are to get this job, right? In most cases, it will not actually help. um, it may seem like an option, like if you say how badly you want this job, they may get. But if you put yourself in the interviewer's position, and if you want somebody to work for you, and after the interview, if it seems like they're not suitable, but just because they're desperate, you may not. If it's your own company, you may give them a job, right? But your job here is to find skilled people for this job. So in most cases, just because if not you, anybody, if they say, if they are desperate for this job, uh, they may not be inclined to immediately say, "Okay, you know what, you get this job." Finally, don't be modest when talking about your skills. This goes back to my previous point of being your own salesman. So, if you think you have a certain skill set, don't be shy. Tell them that, "Yes, I'm good at it." Okay? How to stay up to date? So, if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, create one immediately. If you already have one, connect with as many people as you can, especially target some companies that you would like to work in, and find recruiters from those companies, right? Because if you just search for a company, it lists down all the people from those companies, and you can see their designations. And recruiters are usually more open to add as many people, uh, because it helps them find skill sets, right? So they'll be open to add as many people. So find recruiters on LinkedIn and add them. And you can also search them on other social media like Facebook and add it, or follow them. Yes, so you'll get to know about their recruitment drives and any other updates. Keep eyes and ears open for the latest technologies in the industry. So, whichever industry that you want to work in, whether it is IT or any other industry, try to find out what is new in that industry. What are the future skills that will be required for that industry, and try to develop your skills in that area. Make use of the countless free educational resources on sites like Coursera, Udemy, edx.org, etc. Right? There are some paid courses as well. If you can afford, please invest in that. And but there are numerous free resources where you don't even have to spend a dime. All right, we have come to the question and answer time. If you have any questions, you can speak up, or you can type in the chat box, and the moderator will bring up the questions, or I can go back to it.
Thank you, sir. Kindly post the questions in the chat section so that I can read it out for the sir.
Please don't hesitate. Whatever questions you may have, even if it sounds simple or silly, please go ahead and ask. Okay. What programming language should I learn as a beginner, which has better future prospects? Java is good. It's used everywhere. You can you can learn Python. You can use C. Even C and C++ has job offers from Amazon as well. So even like 2 or 3 years experience in basic language, or not a basic language, a common language like C can land you a job in Amazon. So you can either start with C or Java or Python. Python is a scripting language, but its libraries are much more powerful. If you are interested in data science, then you can look at R as a programming language. Try to find your interest levels, right? Currently, the future skills are in data science, machine learning, artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain, etc. So these are called the digital technologies. The name is very basic, but yeah, that's what they're called. So these digital technologies will be the new future. It's already becoming the future. Many companies already adapted that. You can pick one of them and start learning. And yeah, there is a lot to learn. And you will find that the more you learn, the more topics that are yet to learn. So, but it's interesting. You'll find applications that are useful for everyday use. You will be able to have your own perspectives from just the data, right? You don't have to rely on the news sites to understand what's happening. For example, you can even predict the weather all by yourself. Yeah, so I'm talking because there are no other questions. Okay, I do see another question. Does IT companies have any other recruitment process? When you say you mean the recruitment? As far as I know, this is the typical structure. I don't think there are new, like you may see Google interview questions. Are you asking those kind of questions, or are you asking any recruitment process, a new step in the recruitment process? I'm not sure, but this is typically how the interviews are conducted now. Due to the pandemic, all of this may go online, right? Instead of pen and paper, you would be asked to answer questions on a site. Instead of a group discussion in a room, you'll be asked to discuss over Zoom. But the steps will probably be the same. And the new steps that you've mentioned here, no, I don't think there are any other steps in the recruitment process. This should probably cover most companies. Does that answer your question? Any other questions? And preparing for the aptitude test will not only help in IT, it will help in bank jobs as well. A lot of industries use the aptitude test to know how smart you are, right? So it's not just about books, what you learn or what you memorize, or your scores, or your grades from each semester. They want to understand how you think, and yeah. All right. If there are no other questions,
Okay, sir.
all right, we'll move on then.
Yes, sir. Sir, thank you. Personally, I must thank you.
Thank you. Just a few more points, just
from,
parting thoughts before
yes,
I leave.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Just few more points. Keep your objectives smart. By smart, it has to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And just focus on those objectives that you set for yourself. And don't waste your time thinking about how others would react to your success or how others would react to your failure. Both of this will just waste your time. And from my personal experience, just removing these two from my mind has liberated me and helped me focus on actually focusing on the actions that I have to do. Give credit to others where it's due when you accomplish something. So it will help you be humble, and people will like those who credit others, right? If somebody has helped you during your difficult times, or somebody who has constantly supported you, whenever you accomplish something, give credit to them. Read non-fiction books and develop your personality and social skills. This is very important. This is not just for your interview process. This will help you long term throughout your life. Read books that are not fiction. There are like countless personality development books out there. If you haven't read these Wheeler books, or if you are not in a habit of reading books, please start. And you can start with these books: How to Win Friends and Influence People, and Who Moved My Cheese. These are two very good books that help me in my earlier years. And if you believe in God, pray well. That is a very important step. That's all I had. Thank you for listening. Best wishes for your future, and stay safe.
Sir, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Shall I share you something? If you
Sure,
don't
please
mind.
go ahead.
I must thank you. And when I was taking all these interviews after completing my UG, I couldn't clear the IT industries, and I never got the answers where I went wrong. And today I got answers for everything.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Thank you. And few things I must thank you. This webinar, it is useful for all the students, but it has showed all the weaknesses I had. And thank you for that again.
Sure, I'm glad to have.
Now I invite Kirtana of Mechanical to say the vote of thanks.
My sincere thanks to Almighty God for making today's session a grateful moment. By the blessing and grace, we are able to make the event what it was. I would like to thank our guest, David Sir, for visiting and enlightening us with your knowledge. Your thoughts have enlightened our minds and shown us a new path. Your story was very interesting and helpful in our career. Thank you for improvising and strengthen our weakness, sir. And I also thank our principal, Joshua Nanashegaran sir, and Angeline Felicia ma'am, and also our HOD Sam Chaladuri sir. And I would also like to thank our coordinates Hubert sir and Brainat sir. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for this wonderful session. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you all and good luck.